Welcome back to my channel. This video is my review for the 11th episode of the final season of The 100, otherwise titled Etherea. After only having one appearance this season and trying to convince us he was dead, which failed, Bellamy Blake is finally back. This episode was focused on him to catch us up. I'm not a big fan of Bellamy, so normally I wouldn't be excited about an episode that's completely focused on him, but the fact that he's been gone for so long made this intriguing, and we finally got to explore Etherea. The plot of the episode was that Bellamy was stuck on Etherea with the disciple that he took hostage. They were trying to get to the top of the mountain in order to get back to Bardo. Along the way, the disciple made Bellamy question his views on Cadogan's faith. For the first time in a while, we weren't switching back and forth between two storylines, and while I would have liked to see Indra and Malachi, we needed to focus on Bellamy. At the beginning, I thought we were going back to Echo killing the disciple, but actually, Chona had just fixed the machine. We learned that Clark and her group were not being punished for Hope and Echo's actions because of Clark being the key. When he looked into the disciple's memories, Levitt saw Bellamy jumping into the anomaly during the explosion, and he realized that he was alive, as we already knew. So now we go to Bellamy, who landed on Etherea with the disciple that he took hostage on Bardo. I don't think they said his name until later on, but apparently it's Duched. The whole time I thought Bellamy was just calling him a douche in a fancy way, so let's call him Duched. Etherea looked like the island from Arrow, and I didn't like the dark filter, but I liked the visuals of the mountain. Bellamy was attacked by Duched. He fought back but stopped himself from killing him, since now he's the reformed Bellamy that thinks killing is wrong. He tried to climb the mountain but realized he couldn't do it alone, so he went back to get Duched and helped him fix his injured leg. They waited for Duched's leg to recover, and Bellamy took care of him. Thanks to Pike's teachings, he was able to get water from the trees and collect it in some huge eggs that were there. I like that as bad as he was, Pike ended up being necessary in preparing them to survive. It's good that he was mentioned because Bellamy kind of went down the same path again that he went with Pike. This started with Bellamy reading the disciples' version of the Bible, which told Cadogan's journey in Etherea that the kids were talking about in the flock. He was talking about himself in third person here, so I thought, oh no, he's finally gone insane. The show seemed to be criticizing religion, which is weird since they take so much from it. Bellamy thought it was stupid to fight a word to transcend because that just causes more pain, but Duched criticized our characters always putting their people first and not caring about what happens to everyone else. Once Duched recovered, they started their journey up the mountain. Duched went first since his leg was weak, and for a second it seemed like he betrayed Bellamy, then he came back because unlike Bellamy, he doesn't just care about his people, he cares about all mankind. We learned that unlike the Bardoans, the native Ethereans had passed the test and transcended. So are they what was in those giant eggs? Because I was thinking it was the giant Bardoans. There was a huge storm and Bellamy decided to keep going while Duched took shelter. Duched went back to save Bellamy, who was lying in the snow, and he took him to the Cave of Ascent, where Bellamy found the picture of Cadogan and his family that Bale took with him when he entered the anomaly in Anaconda. They also found a golden light with 3 symbols in the middle, and Duched claimed that those were the remains of the people that ascended. Even after seeing this proof, Bellamy still didn't want to believe that the last war was real because he didn't want to have to go back to the old Bellamy. When Duched said that from the ashes they will rise, Bellamy realized that Bale Cadogan is the Shepard, and he told Duched that he was a lion cult leader. I had joked about shipping them, and then in the next part, Duched actually told Bellamy that he loved him, so when are we getting our Ducemy endgame? Duched was trying to convince Bellamy that his methods of loving were wrong because he only loves his people, which is selfish. The disciples believe we must love everyone in order to fight to save all of mankind. We already know that Cadogan wants this so that he's never betrayed by someone he loves again, but this explains why Levitt loved Octavia so quickly. Just like Duched said that he already loved Bellamy, even though they barely knew each other, because they don't care about connections, everyone is loved equally. Then we got a time skip. Bellamy had split up the cave for them, now he looked old with a longer beard, which is ironic since people always hated his beard, but Jason said no, it needs to be longer. Bellamy was finally losing hope, and he decided to pray alongside Duched. He woke up in what seemed like a dream where his god, Cadogan, appeared to him, and told him that his guns weren't going to save him, his faith is the true weapon, which reminded me of how excited Bellamy was to get guns back in Season 1, although the result of that regarding Finn kind of proves Cadogan's point, because the guns just caused more problems for them. Then Cadogan led him back into that room where the golden light was, and Bellamy saw his mom. It kinda reminded me of when Barry sees his mom in the Speed Force in The Flash, but did this mean Bellamy's mom transcended? His mom finally got Bellamy to believe in Cadogan's faith. He listened to her and walked into the light, going back into the real world. The titles of the rest of the episodes were recently released, and one of them is called The Dying of the Light, so right now I'm guessing it has something to do with whatever this glowing thing is. Duched said that by praying they got rid of the storm, so Bellamy wanted to finally finish their journey to the top of the mountain. However, on their way up, Duched lost his grip and was falling, but Bellamy was holding onto him with the rope. But Duched was telling him to let him loose, since his death would allow Bellamy to get to Bardo, which is for the benefit of all mankind. while Bellamy saving him would still be him trying to save his people. But just like they stopped the storm by praying, Bellamy started praying and Duchette joined in to give him the strength to pull him up. They were finally at the top and they put the code into the stone, but the anomaly opened up halfway down the mountain, not at the top. So after spending all of this time getting up there, they had to jump back down. Of course, Duchette jumped to get back to his Shepard, and after hesitating for a little, Bellamy followed. Etherea must not be near a black hole because I was expecting Bellamy to get there and find a much older Duchette since he waited a bit, but he got there right after him. They hugged, which gave us another Dushimi moment. Cadogan was waiting for them, and unfortunately, Bellamy kneeled down before him. Also, Cadogan seemed to remember the vision, which is weird because I thought it would have been a hallucination from the bug that Bellamy ate, but if Cadogan knows about it, does that mean it actually happened? Or could Bellamy have been in a simulation this whole time, like the one that Echo, O, and the Diosas were in? Finally, we got back to our group that was in Cadogan's lunchroom, I think, and Clark was saying that she was gonna tell Cadogan that she would help him so that he would turn on the stone so the others could escape. But Echo and Octavia wouldn't let her sacrifice herself. Also, I love how I commented on how Gabriel was eating all the time, and then Echo said the same thing, which is also because they grew close over those 5 years on penance. Cadogan came into the room and Clark went on with her plan, but he was followed by Bellamy to everyone's surprise. Echo seemed to be in shock while Octavia wanted a hug, but she was stopped by the disciples. Only Clark got to hug him, so I thought this is it, Bellark is gonna be endgame, but then she told him that the flame was the key. I understand that she trusts him, but this ruined everything. Once again, to everyone's disbelief, Bellamy called Bill his Shepard and told him that Clark didn't have the flame because it was destroyed. Just like the Shehera scene a few episodes ago, I liked the scene because of the music. It made it so suspenseful even though I knew what was gonna happen. So Bellamy is fully gone over to the disciples' side, and it's so late in the season that I don't think there's gonna be enough time to turn him back to the other side and get him to end up with Clark. Even Becco is probably over now, so get ready for a Dusami endgame. But really, I was surprised that Echo didn't get much focus on her reactions to him since she is his girlfriend, and her whole story this season has been about finding who she is without him. And just a few hours ago for her, she was trying to kill everyone as revenge for killing him. The Bellark moment was nice, but it seemed like fan service because Octavia and Echo should have had more focus. I remember hating on Gabriel for betraying them before, but in his own way he was trying to help. Meanwhile, Bellamy even said sorry because he knows he's putting them in danger. Like I said, I've never been a big fan of him. I found him annoying in Season 1, he grew on me later on, and then the Pike thing happened, then he was annoying again in Season 5. I was hoping this episode would get me to like him a bit more, but instead it made him go back to the Season 3 Bellamy that I hated the most. That's why I said that it was good that they mentioned Pike, because history repeated itself as he now turned to Cadogan's side. With the focus on Bellamy and Duchette and Bellamy being converted to his faith, this episode seemed to be trying to convince us to also believe that the disciples are right. Actually, in the Inside the Episode video they do, Jason actually said that this episode we would see Cadogan in a new light. Maybe not as the bad guy, but I still don't think he's a good person. Duchette made some good points about our characters being selfish because they have killed many innocent people along the way. Which is why, like Monty said, Clark is trying to do better this season. So she didn't kill Malachi, and she stopped Echo from committing genocide. But the disciples aren't exactly good people. Not everyone is like Duchette, the kids, or Levitt. That bald guy and his crew had no problem trying to kill our group before they left to Nakara. Aren't our characters also part of mankind? I also don't like the fact that we're supposed to see Cadogan as a good person when we've seen him as the egotistic maniac that he is in Anaconda. The show has always shown us false gods like the Primes, Gabriel, and the Commanders. Now all of a sudden Cadogan is actually a real god since he showed up to Bellamy in that vision. We also always saw the problems with blind faith and religion, and this whole season has shown us that loyalty is a weakness with Echo, Knight, and Alyssa. So why are we supposed to think that it's good for the disciples to be blindly loyal to all of mankind? And if Cadogan is supposed to be good, does that mean Callie is wrong and every one of our people have always been the bad guys? Basically, what I'm saying is that I'm not convinced that Cadogan is a good person. This episode didn't make me see him in a new light. The only false gods I stand are Lexicum Tricru and Malachi cum Sangeracru. Overall, this was a pretty uneventful episode until the end, but it was important because it was catching us up with Bellamy, and it continued with how last episode felt more like the older seasons, since it focused on this character. Hopefully going forward, Clark will get more screen time now that he's back. I think I will give this episode a 7.5 out of 10. Well, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for similar content. I do videos on this show along with Stargirl. Leave your thoughts on the video and episode in the comments. Thanks for watching and have a good day. Goodbye.